Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Disco Elysium. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're supposed to join me today because I know another thing that I didn't know last episode. I think now every episode is going to be me remembering what I didn't remember last episode. So, before, I didn't know what cardboard was called, and then last episode I remembered. And before, or last episode in fact, I didn't know what paper towels were called. And now I know, because I looked it up. I forgot. I knew the word. If you told me something is a paper towel, I knew what it was. But apparently the game doesn't. Because last episode, the game thought that toilet paper and paper towels looked the same. They super don't. Not even in the size thing. It's just, don't wipe your butt to a paper towel. I said that last episode. I will write that in my grave. And that's going to be my epitaph. Anyway, the point is, we had toilet paper stuck to our ledger, and we're messing with our ledger, and the game called it kitchen tissue, the paper towels. They're called paper towels. And it's weird. Again, it's like cardboard. What? Of course it's paper towels, but why is the distinction? What's kitchen tissue is still technically correct. It's just not what people call it, because that's how language works. Let's inspect the clip over here. There's a clip out of aluminium, sorry. Didn't we see aluminum before? Anyway, it's aluminium. An aluminium block runs the width of the board, biting down on the paperwork. Its crocodile teeth are the only thing keeping the papers together. A regular pencil, the tip worn down to nothing, has been attached to the clip. I'm gonna run my fingers across the aluminium. The surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular, sparkling with iridescence. You don't know how he didn't notice it before. Also, I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually have crocodile teeth, because that's really weird that he does, because that's not how clips are made. Crocodile teeth is what you get on your thing that's gonna... your battery cables for your car. That's what you have there. So it bites down into metal or other, like, rubber and whatnot. Hey, Lieutenant, what is this? I'm gonna point to the sticker. What? Kim says. He's lost in his own notes because he was making sure they were pristine. It takes a moment for him to see it. That thing? That's a halogen watermark. We use it for adding information to RCM property. Interesting. What kind of information? Well, it depends. Aside from an anti-counterfeiting stamp, mine has my station number and address. The information varies by date of issue. Oh, how many years you've been on the force, he's thinking. I'll have that. I'll have that? It'll have that. Oh, right. The thing will have that, sure. How can I read it? Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. Like, for example, all RCM vehicles have headlights designed to reveal halogen watermarks. Mine too. This means you can read the watermarks if you just turn the lights on. Okay. Yeah, thank you, that's all. He returns to his notes and keeps these neatly kept notes. Okay, let's turn the ledger away. Let's go into here. And, soft glow of thing. Kim, how do I turn on the headlights? It's not the headlights, my god, but it's what I asked. He turns the preheater on, waits, takes out his keys, then says, alright, ready? I turn. You press start. It's next to the preheater. He's downplaying his excitement. Kim is, our empathy notes. The lieutenant's more happy to show off his precious carriage. Press engine start. The dashboard lights up with an orange glow. Rounds per minute gauges, RPM gauges jump, and the engine of Cupri's Kanema comes to life. Or of the Cupri's Kanema, I suppose. Comes to life with a whiny growl. And I'm gonna press the button labeled headlights. These are some really bad user experience cars, by the way. Some cars don't turn on the headlights when they're off, and those cars are from 1920. The lights unfold with a little click. Oh, they're pop-up headlamps. That's great. Casting electrical light onto the ground before the vehicle. I thought it was the cabin lights. That, you know, it makes sense if you could read anything. I thought it was the cabin lights that allowed you to read things. That'd be kind of cool. That way you can read it by just standing in front of a police car that's in the stoplight or something, and you just read whatever you want. The lights unfold with a little click, casting electrical light onto the ground before the vehicle. There you go, says Kim. I'll turn them off from the remote. Wait. I'll turn them off from the remote once you're done, he says. We just need to stand in front of the machine now. Absolutely. Thank you very much. I don't know what you're turning them off from the remote, but it's fine. As you hold your ledger's clip under the headlamp, a shimmering iridescent pattern appears. One you've definitely seen before. There she is, Revitol West. There's a note of pride in the lieutenant's voice. Around the borders of the watermark are hundreds of micro perforations. Let's look at the shimmering street grid. I suppose this is all in the ledger. The because it doesn't say. Appears out of where? I don't know. The rectangular watermark is overlaid with the logo of the RCM, and yet the major arteries of Revitol are all recognizable. They shimmer in the kinema's headlamps. Then this time the D actually appears properly. Wait, let's look around. A rat brazenly darts past you and disappears amongst the stopped lorries. In the distance, a child somewhere shrieks. A woman reprimands her in a voice no quieter than the child's cry. Why would it be? Especially because that's the point of shouting at a child. Ah, Martinez, says Kim, and he smells the air as he says that. Where are we on this? And I'm gonna point to the halogen map. Let me see. He takes the ledger for a moment and inspects it. Right here, he says, his finger near the top of the map on a segment of coast jutting out into the great ocean. Seems like a shithole. It has its problems, says Kim. Yeah, let's look at the perforations. There are many of them, and they are divided into 3 separate rows. Okay, tally up the different rows. The first now has 18 dots. What about the next one? The next is the longest. It runs all the way around the border and then some. Count them individually. There are so many it's hard to count. More than 150 at least. Maybe even 200. What about the last row? The last row has 3 perforations. 3? That's it. Hey Kim, what do these all these holes mean? Oh, those are perforations. Yes, holes. That's the same word. It's not the same word. It's literally not the same word, but it's a synonym. They represent your record as an officer of the RCM. There's your statistics, as it were. I should have guessed you keep a record. Officers often do. Let's take a look. The first row represents your years of service. 18 years. Okay, not bad at all. What did you do before you volunteered? I feel like I just went around apologizing all the time. Maybe you were a diplomat? Or in PR? It doesn't matter, I suppose. Let's move on, shall we? This, in PR? Apologizing? What kind of PR does this world have? Also double space. This next row, the one that wraps all the way around, is your number of closed cases. Closed is good. It means finished. Kim, anyway, you've got, let's see. Whoa, more than 200. I would have thought there would be more. That's quite a lot, even for someone who has been on the force for nearly 2 decades. Usually clearing more than 10 cases a year puts you on the 90th percentile of all RCM officers. So you're saying I used to be a super cop. I'm never going to ask that because this is... This is sort of telling, although it wouldn't... No, actually, he feels sorry for me, so he's going to see through the... He's going to see through the reason why I say this. So let's say, call it what you want. You were a valuable member of your precinct. Now let's... Oh, he just skips right past. Never mind the underlying assumption that we are not a super couple anymore. Now let's look at the last row. Right. Those are your confirmed kills. You've got precisely 3 perforations there. Confirmed kills. So I'm a killer. For an RCM officer, especially the Precinct 41, which is in the Jamrock Quarter, it's a rather tame. I mean that in a good way. I think you mean that in a bad way for the Precinct. Although they kind of came across as jerks, but then again, I don't know who I am, so maybe they weren't being jerks. And when I say jerks, I mean... Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of complicated. Police brutality is a tricky thing in any place, and just through analyzing actually talking to the victims and the people who may or may not, I suppose, be victims of police brutality, it can actually know if this 3 kills is anything to be go by, because if it's a good thing or not. Because even 1 kill, it's like if you're defending yourself, if you're legitimately defending yourself and kill somebody, I mean, because that's one thing. But the thing about that as well is police officers, as far as I know, have a training, a specific training for their weapon and for their combat training that's called stopping distance. And it's something that don't see very often in video games because that's not how it works. Video games work in HP, and you kill people and your weapon kills them immediately. But a pistol shot to the torso is not actually going to stop anybody. It's not, even if you kill them, if they're even if they're like right next to you, they're still gonna punch you or potentially kill you with a knife or harm you anyway, with a knife or something like that. So officers are trained to know those situations and to keep things under control. And I say this, although my knowledge is specifically for I was gonna say the United States Police, but I don't know about that one. But specifically for the British police, at least England's police, because I read an article about that a while back, actually. So things might have changed, but I assume it's all the same, and at least they're conscious of that. It doesn't matter if you have a freaking machine gun. Well, actually, if you have a machine gun, you're probably going to stop them very fast. But the stopping distance of any weapon is a point of consideration. And so shooting to kill is a very, very specific thing that officers are trained to do in certain circumstances. So if you fear for your life, if you kill them because you fear for their lives, it needs to be in extraneous circumstances for that actually to be a non-murdery thing. Because cops murdering people, even if they're criminals, they are using a power that is traditionally, well, I say traditionally, but it depends on the country, I suppose. But in European countries anyway, and in the US certainly, that is a power reserved to the courts. Actually, yeah, it's still the court. So the police officer is responsible to bring in somebody to court. Well, it's not quite how it is. I'm simplifying, but the point is you arrest somebody, bring them to court, and the court says you now die. And of course, hopefully the death penalty doesn't exist. So what the court says, it ends up being now you're condemned to 25 years in prison, or 50, or however much. In the UK it's 50, I believe. Here in Portugal it's 25, the maximum penalty. So that's why it's called extrajudicial killings, because it's not in the judicial system. And I think that's the name judicial comes from what a lot of countries divide power as three specific types of power: the judiciary, the executionary, and I believe that's the police, and then there's the legal, the members of government. They have the other power, but it depends on the country. There's some countries that give more importance to the three pillars. There's other countries that actually have 4 pillars. Well, there's one country that I know of that has 4 pillars. But there's countries that only have the one. It depends on the situation. If you have dictatorship or something like that, I suppose. Actually, for it to be only a single one, you'd have to have a military dictatorship, because that way you'd have the police work being done as well, militarized. Anyway, the point is, I don't know. Maybe I am a killer. Maybe it doesn't matter if I'm the least rotten apple of the bunch. Never mind that the rotten apple spoils the bunch. It's just, yeah. Anyway. What's it to feel like to kill? What's it to feel like to kill a man, Mr. McCoy? A young woman asks the man across the desk from her. This is our esprit de corps. We know our name. Wow, we know our name, McCoy. We heard that name before, though. I sort of forgot about that. No, that's not what I want. I want character info. I don't know. Is it over here? I don't know. Yeah, anyway. A young woman asks the man across the desk from her. Honestly, babe, says John McCoy. No, that's not us, is it? Oh, or maybe that's a movie. It's not McClane, at least like the other one, which was more of a... I suppose it is a reference to John McClane from Die Hard. He crosses his ankles over said desk. I don't feel anything anymore. It's just like brushing my teeth. I do it once or twice a week and don't really think about it. There's no trace of guilt in his voice. This is somebody else, evidently. There are certain officers, says Kim, who treat their kills like some kind of ghoulish game. If they do happen to solve a case, it's usually by accident. It's obvious the lieutenant doesn't think very highly of the officers, says Kim. Of these officers, rather. But it seems as though you are, or at least were, one of the good ones. So we have to be that to be thankful for. One of the good ones. Even if I... Well, it depends on... One of the good ones is hardly a high praise, anyway. Even if I didn't kill anybody, that where I shouldn't have killed them from a moral standpoint, let alone an ethical standpoint, because ethics has to do with police ethics. They don't apply to everybody. They're specifically for police officers, the police ethics. The point is, even if I didn't do that, I didn't do amoral killings, it doesn't mean I'm not complicit in other people's killings. Certainly not in a police environment. Certainly when you consider it's a police officer environment. Have you ever killed anyone, Kim? Yes, he says, declining to elaborate. It's not a problem for him to state it, however, our empathy notes. How do you handle the strain? Everyone has their own method of coping, and some more effective or self-destructive than others. He gives you a meaningful look. Personally, I find it helps to keep up a few hobbies. Oh, maybe you should find a hobby. Why not gardening? You've already got the yellow gloves. It's meant in earnest. Please don't mistake it for a jab. Our esprit de corps notes. Okay, thank you. Thanks for this. The lieutenant nods. Okay, let's go. Right, I'll go turn off the lights. He presses a remote control on the key. You can now see your statistics on your journal page right at the end of the task description. People killed. Oh, I see. Good cop, bad cop, 5. So is that good cop over bad cop? Because that means that we're on a... If we're above 1, then, because if you divide 5 over 0, for example... Actually, you can't divide by 0, but over 1, that would be 5. But if you were 1 over 5, that would be 0.2, which would be the opposite of 5. In logarithmic scale, I think. Is it logarithmic? Is that how it works? I don't know maths. Okay, so he's back over there, and we're spending our time doing things over here. Let's see. Our level up. What do I want to have? I want to have... Our Inland Empire is good. So we basically... The specialization that we get at character creation is basically a skill point that you put in. That's all that it is. And I can't get my endurance up any higher. Physical instrument. I might need that for a couple of things here and there. Electrochemistry. Oh, no. I'm gonna go up on physical instrument. Yeah. Because... I have needed that a couple of times, and I failed at him, and I expect the rest of the game to have more of those checks. Let's go over here and interact with the ledger again. Let's browse the white papers. They're not exactly white. They're yellowed in nothing is exactly white. What do you think color is? They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol, and covered in this blue handwriting. Okay, I get what you mean. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across entire pages. The paper itself is checkered with faint red lines forming short paragraphs. Once in a while there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case filed, commit to paper." The case files, or the quote case files themselves, are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages falling apart in your hands. They appear to be sufficiently organized and extremely dense, if mostly illegible. What is there? Oh, no, well, it's there. What's in there? Yeah, right. Okay, I missed the in. What are they about? Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs in investigations dating back to January 51 this year. Or January 51, which is this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention, but there are at least 20, maybe 30 cases undertaken, not completed, mind you. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases a week on average. Is 2 cases a week a good case load, Lieutenant? Huh? Asks Kim. He raises his nose from his notes. 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yeah. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. Yeah, I would say, man, even a case a month is tremendously high for if it's complex. Well, I guess you can work on multiple cases at the same time, because if you don't have leads, you don't have leads. 2 cases a week appears to have been my load, Lieutenant. I'm not sure I completed them, though. Ah, that's a lot, says Kim. This kind of case load... There's no period there, though. This kind of case load would explain your solved cases tally on the watermark. He stops. I didn't mean to say you're making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me. Yeah, I'm sure I made plenty of mistakes. Oh, that's okay. He nods and then turns back to his own case files. We all make mistakes. God knows I've made my share, says our esprit de corps. He tries not to think of them. I tried not to think of them. Like a fan of gills, which I don't know what it is, a fan of gills. The checkered papers dry in your hands. Is that how any language calls it? A fan? The fan. It's a fan. Do they actually have to specify that it's made of gills? Because it's not. Also, it's weird. A fan, the original fan, the hand fan. Is it called? It's called a fan. Absolutely, it's called a fan. We just call other things fans as well in English, but in other languages they just use different terms. Portuguese, for example, uses a word that derives from the word vent, which is the Portuguese word for vent, which means wind. Wind is being a Germanic word, whereas vent is a Latin word. But anyway, it's just a fan. I don't know where that comes from, the word itself, but it sounds like a Chinese thing to me. Kind of sounds and whatever. Anyway, the handwriting is extremely dense, if mostly illegible. There was mention of a naming convention here. Yeah, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. What do you mean a literary system? That sounds like a good thing. How is it in opposition to robust? Each investigation has its case number written on the margins, yet still more tellingly, most are accompanied by a name. A title, one might even say, one that draws inspiration from Snoop fiction and Vespertine cop show staples. Oh my. And they're written in capital letters too. Yes, all caps. One is called it's actually, they're block letters, I think. For handwriting, it's called them block letters. You can call them capital letters for sure, but it's just like block writing. It's called block writing. And when you're, actually handwriting, it's called block writing. The next world, and I think it's called black, now that I'm talking about it and I ramble a bunch, it's called black writing because it's in opposition to cursiva. And cursiva would be, if you don't know what, I say cursiva, cursive, it's the English word. It's when you, when you draw a D, you just go with a little, there we go, that's a D, and then you have an E after, and then an N, and then an S, dense, if you want to have the E right there, and you know what I mean? But if you, and if you want to write all in caps, a capital D is like, actually a capital D is this. How do you? Oh yeah, a capital D is something like this, and like this, and then nothing else, and then an E for the dance. But if you write a capital D after, you make this, which means that writing in cursive in all capitals results in illegible stuff. So for that, you have block letters where you make the blocks of the D, the typical, the actual, non-serif lettering, because this is all serif. Serifs are those little things over there on the T. You see that? And like some letter font type like Arial, for example, is non-serif or sans serif because it doesn't have those little things, and that's closer to what you get normally with block letter. Anyway, this is background. It doesn't matter, but still. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Yet another, The Unsolvable Case. There's the guys on a couch in an unexpected location. Murder at the hookah parlor. And that's hookah parlor, not hooker parlor. Even the rare title, Collapsing Tenement. Murder features prominently throughout. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done later, once you've done inspecting them up close. Kim, my cases appear to employ some kind of naming convention. Oh, you mean the alphanumeric officer precinct time of arrival at the scene? That's probably how he say. No, I mean non-numeric. Did I say alphanumeric? I'm sorry. No, he says not alphanumeric. Yeah, non-numeric one with titles. Actually, how would you say that? Is it non-numeric? I suppose it might be. Oh, you mean the? Oh, it's actually. I think it's a semantic. Do you call it a semantic naming scheme? There's a term for it that is not this term. Anyway, you mean the titular. Oh, there it is. Kim, thank you so much. Yes, titular, yes. So, so do I. In your defense, almost everyone in the RCM does. Why is that? It's a holdover from the early days of the RCM, right after the revolution when the organization had little idea how to do things. It persists in an unofficial capacity. Officers use these titles to refer to their work among themselves. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually. And I assume it's basically the same principle as a band, like a music band making music. They often don't name their... well, in my experience, they often don't name their music or their songs until very late in the composition process. I seem to have named the case the Square Bullet Hole murders. Again, in your defense, I seem to have named one, and he peeks into his notes, the man with the hole in his head. That was a real person. His death was real. Still, I named it that, to amuse myself. He smiles. I pray his loved ones never find out. Yeah, it's, that's the only, as far as I can tell, the only drawback of this system. What happened to him? A rail spike through the head. He died. It was a workplace accident. And people actually survive out of this, by the way. It's a real thing that actually happens to people. Rail spikes to the head. Through the head, in fact. And survival. And it's rare, but it's a thing. Let's see. I have to open an official case. Is there room? Let's count the pages. There is. For precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages, breaking the case into subtasks to accomplish. Let's commit to paper. Sadly, the ledger only comes with an old, worn-out, or worn-down lead pencil. Lead? No. There's no pencils with lead in them. What? No. Lead doesn't write down. It's graphite. People might call it that, though. Is that an actual English expression? Because that sounds like another translation mishap. It's unfitting of this monumental event. Kim, do you have a pen? The lieutenant looks down at his blue notebook. 2 fat, shiny pens hang from the binders like large caliber bullets on an ammo belt. It's downright incriminating. He has little choice but to give you one. Yeah, it would be. He has little choice but to give you one, although he really does not want to. He's not really saying anything, just standing there looking at them. Fine, I'll just use this crappy pencil. Absolutely motionless at first, and then animated slowly, imperceptibly even, the lieutenant begins to browse his notes again, leaving you to the case files. The threat has passed. He's thankful it has passed, and that he's gotten to keep both pens. You start scratching the I don't really know why I wouldn't write it in paper or in pencil. You start scratching the tasks you've completed onto the paper with a brash, free hand, uncannily similar to the rest of the letters. The wording comes easily. It's almost robotically simple, a language developed for mental rigor and simplicity. Inspect the victim's body. Interview the cafeteria manager. It's not exactly poetry, but poetry would be out of place. Yes, cross out the ones you've already finished. I heal morale out of that. Nice. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. You're done, it seems to say. And you. Things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality. This is extremely useful, an extremely useful tool for a detective of the citizens' militia. Now, all that remains is... Oh, is that what the RCM stands for? Citizens Militia. Yeah. Yep. Okay. That's interesting. I wonder what the historical context for a word like that. Excuse me. Now, all that remains is to name the case. Lieutenant, have you by any chance named our case? No, actually, he says. Any ideas? The Furies are at home in the mirror. Furies, says Kim. Yes, well, it's obvious he doesn't like it. I don't know, I have to be honest, I'm not experiencing the internal strife that refers to, and also, he furrows his brow. Could we make it less poetic somehow? Just a normal case name, you know, think, what would that be? A good normal name. yes, you know what that normal name is, but it's so plain, anything else, please. Shit on a stick. Ha, yes! He isn't actually laughing. I have to tell you, officer, I don't appreciate ironic titles. It's not ironic. Sardonic. It's literal. It's not even sarcastic. Anyway, other officers will have to use this reference. If it's idiot or cockfinger, they're not going to get it. They're going to think an idiot and a cockfinger were in this case. So, do you have something less funny? Yeah, funny doesn't mean ironic. Although, anyway, funny's outlawed with this guy. What a narc. That's a little bit out of place though, but it is an inside joke, I guess, at the player, I suppose. Let's see. Hanged Man, okay. Great, that's great. That's actually what I was thinking too. The Hanged Man. Good strong name. We have a very good name for the case now. He flips the pages of his notebook. I'm going to start calling it the Hanged Man now. It's good to get this sorted out. Yes, I'm done inspecting these. Let's close that. Oh, there's a thing. You don't exactly close them so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. It's a good point. Thank you again for calling me out on that. They're a little further from your nose. Can I read the case files now? You know what? We're out of time for the day. So let's put the ledger away for right now and continue our adventure in the next episode. For right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Disco Elysium in sans serif titles. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much. I still don't know what this typeface is, but I use it a lot. I think my call is Roboto. I think. I guess I'll know that next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.